What is your favorite Souls game? Is it the original, expertly designed Dark Souls? Or are you a fan of the newer, insanely massive Elden Ring? Or are you a defender of the underdog, Dark Souls 2? Whatever it is, hold it in your mind. Keep it there. Steady, steady. Now forget it. Favorite bosses, favorite areas, all the lore, throw it out. Because when you strip these games down to just their opening moments, the one that leaves the strongest first impression might not be the one you're thinking of. In this video, we're going to isolate just the intro sequences of each of these games, see what they're all about, and find the one that does something the rest can never quite match. Demon's Souls begins with a nice lady telling us a brief history of the land we're about to explore, using some images as a backdrop.
Apparently, King Alent, ruler of Boletaria, brought unprecedented prosperity to his kingdom through the power of souls. But then a deep fog came into the land and Boletaria was cut off from the outside world. Alent had woken up the Old One, some great ancient beast. The fog unleashed demons that hunt down men and claim their souls. Each human soul that a demon claims makes their own soul even more powerful.
At least 6 mighty warriors were drawn to this land to claim some of these powerful demon souls, but none returned. The deep fog is slowly extending beyond Boletaria's borders, which eventually means the end of humankind. But there is one last hope.
A lone warrior has braved the baneful fog. That must be us. Then a question is asked, hinting at a choice we have to make before the end. Has the land found its savior, or have the demons found a new slave? After this, our hero emerges from the darkness as a different, childlike voice tells us they will guide us, and then gives us our main objective: lull the Old One back to slumber.
We enter the light and emerge in the ruins of a castle. This area acts as the game's tutorial, with various runes lighting the ground to inform you of the controls.
There's a multitude of weakling enemies throughout the dark halls for you to practice combat on. Make your way to this courtyard, kill some more enemies, and touch this sword in a rock to warp to a new area. Okay, it's really dark in here. I guess we're just in a different part of the castle now? More tutorial, more enemies.
At this point, I'm starting to feel pretty confident. Watch out, Old One. I'm about to sing you a lullaby. You're going back to sleep, is what I'm trying to say. Oh, heck. What is that?
Vanguard is the game's first pseudo-boss, as you don't have to defeat him to proceed. If you're killed by him, you're transported to the Nexus, which acts as the game's main base of operations. If you defeat him, you get to continue on a little further, collecting some additional items until you're annihilated by a massive dragon in an unavoidable cutscene, which also lands you in the Nexus.
Dark Souls begins with a nice lady telling us a brief history of the land we're about to explore. Wait, I'm sensing a pattern here.
We're told that in the Age of Ancients, the world was unformed and foggy, with large pillars and everlasting dragons. But then, there was fire. And with fire came disparity. Heat and cold, life and death, light and dark. And out of the darkness came creatures who found souls of lords in the flame and became powerful. These beings being Nito, the first of the dead, the Witch of Izalith and her Daughters of Chaos, Gwyn, the Lord of Sunlight and his faithful knights, and the easily forgotten Furtive Pygmy.
Don't ask me what the Furtive Pygmy is, okay? I'm sure there's a 3-hour YouTube video explaining it. These 4 decided to post up together and stick it to their dragon overlords, killing them all. Except for Seath the Scaleless, who betrayed his own kind. The guy was probably bullied on account of having no scales.
You poor little freak. And thus began the Age of Fire. But soon the flames will fade and darkness will remain. Bringing us up to speed, we're told at this point there are only embers of life left. Something about a dark sign?
This ring. I feel like I've seen it before. I swear if Gollum shows up, I'm gonna lose it.
You don't have any friends. Nobody likes you.
You wake up in a prison cell looking rough.
A nice knight drops an item for you. Thanks, guy. It's the key. Use it to escape your cell.
Much like before, there are clues on the ground informing you of the controls. Make your way through the dungeon, say hello to the nice goblins, open these twin doors, and mother trucker, an asylum demon. Stay and fight if you're dumb, run through this open door if you're smart. Dodge a boulder to open a hole in the wall.
Hey, I think this is the kind fellow who gave you the key to your cell.
He informs you that he failed his mission, but hopes that you can carry on his metaphorical torch. His mission? Ring the Bell of Awakening. He gives you an Estus flask and another key. Continue on through the asylum until you get to a ledge where you can elbow drop the big scary demon from before. Tickle him a few times to get the victory royale. Use the key he drops to exit the prison. Find your way to the nearby precipice to trigger a cutscene. A giant crow grabs you while the lady voiceover tells you you're the chosen one.
Bird takes you to the land of Lordran, dropping you off at the Firelink Shrine, this game's main hub. Talk to this guy sitting nearby who informs you that there's actually 2 bells, one up above and one down below. Well, what are you waiting for? Go ring some bells.
Perhaps you've seen it. Maybe in a dream.
Dark Souls 2 begins with a nice lady telling us, well, a whole bunch of nonsense. I think she's saying that you're losing your mind and essentially becoming a beast and losing your humanity, aka a hollow. Ah, wait, here's some lore.
Long ago, there was a great kingdom called Drangleic. She tells us that one day we will stand before the gate of Drangleic, not knowing why.
Ooh, fireflies. Ah, Dementors. Well, I wouldn't have jumped into that Dementor whirlpool, personally.
You wake up in Things Betwixt. Okay, that's a dope name. You could go straight to this cabin, or you could go down the secret path to the left. Follow the giant tracks to encounter a weird hippo thing. Nice. Go inside the cabin to begin a cutscene. Perhaps one of these lovely ladies is the same old hag from the opening cinematic. They tell you your face is cursed, that you'll go hollow, and then they laugh at you.
Well, you guys are friggin' old, so suck on that, jerks. They kindly give you a human effigy. Thanks, Granny, but I really have no interest in your dark voodoo arts.
The hooded senior citizens continue to make fun of you, tell you that you're gonna die over and over again, sending you on your way.
Just because it's true doesn't mean you have to say it.
Head out the back door of the cabin to continue on into the tutorial area. This time the hints are on stone pillars instead of runes on the ground. Neat. There's a lot of branching paths that are optional. You could go in and get more tutorial, or you can trudge right past.
Eventually, you'll reach the beautiful Majula, which acts as the main hub of this game. Talk to this lady who tells you to go see King Vendrick, ruler of Drangleic.
Bearer of the curse, seek misery.
Way ahead of you. Nice lady, history of the world.
There's a place called Lothric, a transitory land where the Lords of Cinder converge. The fire is fading, the bell tolls, and the Lords of Cinder are being unearthed from their graves. Aldrich, Saint of the Deep, Farron's Undead Legion, the Abyss Watchers, Lord of the profaned capital, Yorm the Giant.
Only in truth, the Lords of Cinder will abandon their thrones and the unkindled will rise. Right.
You wake up in a watery graveyard. We're back to runes on the ground for our tutorial text.
Big fan of these Voldemort-looking dudes.
An optional path leads you to this giant crystal monster, the game's first skill check. Kill him for a scale. Work your way through the rest of the Death Eaters until you encounter this kneeling dude in the middle of an arena.
Surely this isn't gonna be a boss fight. Damn. It's Eodux Gundyr, my mortal foe. This guy is not optional. If you can't beat him, you cannot proceed. I mean, he really doesn't seem so bad. Oh my gosh. I think you might want to see a doctor about that, buddy. After defeating him, you proceed through some heavy doors. Let me help you with that, buddy. Kill some more ghouls and then enter Firelink Shrine.
Hey, just like the first Dark Souls. The Firekeeper there welcomes you and helps you level up. There's a couple friendly NPCs here. This lady sells you stuff. This guy can upgrade your weapons.
Rest at the bonfire to teleport to Lothric Castle and, I guess begin your hunt for the Lords of Cinder. I figured we'd get the Soul series out of the way first, and now we can move to the one-offs.
No more nice ladies. The game opens with a drop of blood dripping down into what I believe to be like an old-timey IV. We get a shot of an old Gothic Victorian-era city at night, panning down to a baby crib in the street. Mysterious old man in a wheelchair appears. From this point on, if you were to tell me this was the opening to a Resident Evil game, I would 100% believe you. Zombified rioters lumbering through the street, zombie dog that gets killed by an individual with a giant meat cleaver. Our meat cleaver killer wanders around with a torch looking for something until he comes across a horse-looking skull, only to get ambushed by a giant werewolf. Our character wakes up and we're now back with the wheelchair man. He tells us we're in Yharnam, the land of blood ministration.
Not to be confused with menstruation. That's something else. Don't worry about that. Right off the bat, this guy makes us sign a contract. I didn't even get to read it. That is not gonna hold up in court, my good sir.
All right, I guess we're getting a blood transfusion now? I don't see what's so funny about that.
Mommy? Please no, please no, please no. Oh, thank heaven. Oh, you have got to be kidding me.
Not really in the mood for kissing today, guys. You wake up on your operating table. Head out the door. In this game, tutorial text comes in the form of puddles, where those little zombie dudes will emerge from the ground to present you a note. Cute. Proceed forward to... Oh, hi, Mr. Werewolf. With no weapons yet, you can still beat this enemy. It'll just take a little bit. If he kills you, no sweat. He was supposed to. After dying, you wake up next to a mysterious, mausoleum-looking building. Choose one of 3 starting melee weapons and one of 2 guns.
You try to go through this door, but it's closed. Not locked, closed. Could you try opening it?
Go to the first tombstone to teleport back to the starting area. Things should go differently with the werewolf now that you have a weapon. Step out into the streets of Yharnam and start slaying some zombie folk. You'll soon discover a lamppost that allows you to teleport back to the mausoleum, aka the Hunter's Dream.
The door is now open. Go figure. Head inside to talk to a different wheelchair man than the one from before. He introduces himself as Gearman, a friend. He tells us we're a hunter, and what hunters do is kill beasts. Now go do it. Sekiro opens with a nice man telling us the history of the land we're about to explore. Finally, some equality.
We're in the Sengoku era of Japan, where the country was consumed by perpetual conflict, spreading to a land called Ashina. We're shown various shots of the ongoing conflict in all its bloody detail. A master swordsman, Ishin Ashina, managed to come out on top of the conflict. An old man with the longest braid I've ever seen finds a boy on the battlefield who has no fear. Fascinated, the old man takes the boy on as his ward and trains him to become a master shinobi. The shinobi code. The father's word is absolute. The master's is a close second. The young shinobi is being given to a new master, whom he must defend with his life. 20 years after Ishin took control, the Ashina clan was on the brink of collapse, and the shinobi known as Wolf had lost everything. The man who took him in, and the boy he swore to protect.
We cut to a lady who tosses a letter into a well, landing near our fallen protagonist. The letter tells us to reach Moonview Tower. In classic Souls fashion, this area acts as the tutorial to get us familiar with the controls.
You can overhear some enemies talking about you. One guy asks if they should be concerned about the man in the well. Another replies that they need not fear him. He's unarmed and lost the will to live. Another conversation reveals that the young Lord Kiro, our master, has been imprisoned in the tower by Lord Genichiro. Parkour your way into the tower to reunite with your master. He gives you your sword, and you repledge your service. Kiro asks Wolf about a night he cannot remember. They brush past this, and now you must help him escape to a secret passage. But first, you have to clear the way. Kill a bunch of enemies until you reach a mini-boss, teaching you the true value of parrying. Make your way down to the secret passage and signal for Kiro. You flee through the passage into the fields beyond. Genichiro is already there to prevent your escape.
One of those classic boss encounters you aren't meant to win.
Win or lose, the fight ends with you getting your arm cut off and Kiro getting captured again. You wake up in the home of this one-armed Buddha carver who has given you his shinobi prosthetic arm. His motive for saving you is a little unclear, but one thing is for sure, you need to go save Kiro.
Elden Ring opens with a nice man telling us the history of the land we're about to explore.
We see still images of the Elden Ring being shattered. We're told Queen Marika the Eternal, of the Lands Between, is missing. In some event known as the Night of the Black Knives, Godwyn the Golden was the first to get stabbed. Marika's offspring have claimed all the shards of the broken Elden Ring. Their newfound strength triggered the Shattering, a war from which there were no victors.
The narrator calls on the Tarnished to arise from the dead. Horalux, chieftain of the Badlands. Yeah, I didn't refresh myself on the pronunciation, so hopefully I didn't just call that guy a bad word. The ever-brilliant Gold Mask. Thea, the deathbed companion. Okay, I've got some questions about that one. The loathsome Dung Eater. So this guy eats poop. Huh. How about that? And Sir Gideon Ofnir, the all-knowing.
And one other, a Tarnished of no renown, that being you, the player character. Time to cross the fog to the Lands Between and become the Elden Lord. Wake up, pick up a finger, and head out the door. Enjoy the view before crossing the rickety bridge. You're soon greeted by a monstrous jumble of limbs going by the name Grafted Sion. You know how it goes. Game doesn't expect you to beat him, but you can if you're really good. If you die, you trigger the next cutscene. If you defeat him, you get some items and continue on a little ways until you step on a precipice that crumbles beneath your feet, killing you. And then the same cutscene plays. Your character takes a nap in a damp cave. A horse-goat thing sniffs you while a lady sits atop. She says one of your kind is sure to seek the Elden Ring, even if it violates the Golden Order.
Is like the Constitution or something? After waking up, you're presented with two paths. Go down the hole through the tutorial area, or go straight to the door to begin the game? Well, I just have to see what's down there.
To no one's surprise, there is text littered on the ground to teach you how to play. Clear out the ensuing caves and their assortment of bad boys. Cross a fog wall to face the tutorial boss, Soldier of Godric.
What a joke.
Take the nearby elevator up, go out the door, and emerge in Limgrave.
The world is now your oyster. Before you embark, it's best to speak to this distinguished gentleman over here.
Come to the lands between for the Elden Ring?
He roasts us for being maidenless and tells us we're fated to die in obscurity. Nice guy. But there is hope. If we follow the golden light of grace flowing from the rest stations, we'll be on the path we're meant to follow.
He says it will lead us to Stormvale Castle, on the cliff in the distance, home of demigod Godric the Grafted. That sounds like a boss if I've ever heard of one. He roasts you one last time for being maidenless, and then there's nothing left to do but begin your quest for the Elden Ring.
Ranking these is actually going to be pretty tough since they all play out relatively similarly, with the exception of Bloodborne and Sekiro. It's also hard because these games intentionally keep things vague, relying on players to pore over item descriptions and environmental clues throughout the game to pick apart the story. So, I'm going to use some guiding metrics. Clarity, emotional impact, and how strongly they pull you into the world.
Number 7. Dark Souls 2. A game that I personally think has been overhated through the years. I have to rank this intro last because it feels the most nonsensical of the crowd. Most of these intros use words that don't mean much at first, but you can at least piece together some stuff. This one just doesn't have much. From the voiceover to the imagery to back it up, I'm left with no idea of what's going on. The only discernible information I can gather is that there's a kingdom called Drangleic, and for some reason, I need to find King Vendrick.
I do really love Majula though. It's so peaceful and beautiful. It's a place I'd really like to hang out in.
Number 6, Dark Souls 3. It pains me to put this one so low on the list, as this was the first Souls game I ever played, the one that hooked me on the franchise. Don't get me wrong, I love the opening cinematic, and the sneak preview of 3 major bosses, Aldrich, Abyss Watchers, and Yorn. I also really like that this game forces you to beat a decently tough boss, especially if you are a beginner, before you can continue. But the graveyard you wake up in is just so bland. It feels less like a piece of the world and more like a specifically designed separate tutorial area. I mean, technically they all have those, but this one kinda hides it the least.
The call to action, I believe, is to fight the Lords of Cinder. But why? A lot of talk about ash and ember and unkindled, which sounds neat, but has me looking like a Neanderthal. Huh? Fire? What mean?
Number 5, Sekiro. Another one that hurts to have low on the list. This might be my favorite overall game from the series, and this intro is good.
I loved learning to parry and the epic fight against Genichiro in the field. The fight felt cinematic and actually had me worried about my ability to master this game's combat, in a good way.
I feel like this intro, more than the others, is really enhanced by the context of the rest of the game. But just isolating the beginning moments, there's a lot of history and characters and dynamics thrown at you at once. By the time I'm set on my main mission to rescue Lord Kiro again, I don't yet have that blood-pumping feeling of being a hero on a grand quest. I'm still warming up to this world.
FromSoft took a step in a different direction with this game, which ended up being fantastic. But I think my unfamiliarity with this new type of world and story prevented this intro from reaching a higher high for me.
Number 4, Elden Ring. I'll be honest, I kinda wish this game had an opening cinematic rather than just a slideshow. A little disappointing. The setup is easy enough to understand. A ring was shattered, some bad boys picked up the remains to get tough, and now you gotta kill them. As with Dark Souls 3, I love that specific characters are name dropped, building anticipation for when you actually face or meet them, even though I'll probably forget all these names once I'm 40 hours into the game.
The moment that really makes this intro special is opening the door to Limgrave. I mean, the feeling you get, this is why we play video games.
A huge, sprawling world where you can immediately go in any direction. So incredible and so intimidating.
Thankfully, the game does tell you, hey, you should head to that castle in the distance. It has a real Shire to Mordor type of feeling. If you could isolate the opening to just this one moment, it would absolutely take the top spot.
Number 3, Demon Souls. This one being so high up on the list was actually a huge surprise to me, but I really like the simple storybook opening. A king awoke an ancient beast, and now the land is all out of whack. There's demons running around, and there's a consuming fog that is spreading, which will eventually end the world.
But you, the lone hero, are the last ray of hope to save the land by lulling the old one back to sleep. Consider my blood pumped. Hell yeah.
My one criticism here is that the voiceover mentions 6 warriors by name, but doesn't show us pictures of them.
Let me ask you this. If your buddy tells you he just went on a date with a new girl, let's say Sarah, what's the first thing you're gonna say? Show me a picture. Cause odds are, I'm gonna forget those 6 warriors' names and Sarah by the time the group hangout gets here.
The castle tutorial area feels like part of the world and sets the stage nicely. I will say, I don't love the teleporting rock, makes me feel a bit disoriented, but this game has the best reward by far for beating the optional tutorial boss, a sneak peek at a boss later in the game in the form of this massive, terrifying dragon. Number 2, Bloodborne. This opening is the most unique of the bunch. No voiceover explaining the world, just a bunch of horror-infused images that genuinely fill me with fear. I think this game does the best job of show, don't tell. Yes, there is some confusing stuff like pale blood and blood ministration. The game is kind of obsessed with blood. I don't know if you got that from the title, the dialogue, or the imagery, but by and large, I feel like this intro kind of leaves you to it, which I think blends perfectly with a game that is just dripping with horrific atmosphere. You're forced to fight a werewolf unarmed, but even when you're sent back with a weapon, I'm still close to peeing my pants. Then you're released onto the streets and it feels like you're not supposed to be there. The city itself feels like it's out to get you, from the roaming zombies to the looming Gothic architecture.
And when you make it back to Hunter's Dream, you're given your objective in all of its beautiful simplicity. You're a hunter, and it's rabbit season. Go kill some stuff.
And number 1, Dark Souls. Everything about this opening is just firing on all cylinders. The voiceover and the cutscene blend together perfectly. It's a perfect mix of intriguing terminology as well as an understandable setup.
Fire, disparity, heat, cold, life, death, light, dark. What does it all mean?
At the same time, we get a simple breakdown. The land was ruled by dragons. 4 bad boys rose from the darkness to take over, and one of the dragons betrayed his own kind. Consider me intrigued. But now the fires of life are burning dim, and that is accurately reflected in the asylum you wake up in. Looking like a starved, shriveled little freak, you make your way through this eerie prison filled with enemies that seem to be barely clinging to life. The game teaches you through the asylum demon that when an obstacle seems insurmountable at first, there may be another way to make overcoming it easier. And the objective is so beautifully clear and manageable. Ring a couple bells. Easy as pie. I just think the asylum is expertly designed and fits in really well with the opening cutscene and the world as a whole. It leaves you feeling anxious and excited to carry out your quest.
At the end of the day, none of these intros are bad. They're all trying to do the same impossible thing. Drop you into a dying world, give you almost nothing, and then somehow make you want to keep going. But when you isolate the very first impressions, before the lore, before the bosses, before the builds, Dark Souls stands tallest for me. Not because it explains the most or looks the best or even hits the hardest right away, but because it gives you just enough mystery, just enough purpose, and just enough confidence to take that first step forwards. And in a series defined by hesitation, fear, and uncertainty, getting the player to move is everything. Thanks for watching.